Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning into the always informative, always entertaining, The Boxing Authorities. Joining me at the desk, as always, Luther Dupree Jr., Smoking Jim Frazier, and my name is Claudio Relsano. Luther, you've been talking about the Ponce-Montes fight. It's all yours.
This weekend, this was the fight of the night. Both of these guys later on the line only went about 5 rounds, but toe-to-toe, they both were going to the body. And Matisse, he's exciting. He won the IBF title. He dropped him in the 5th round with a body shot, but both guys gave it their all. I knew it was going to be action-packed. 140 pounds. It was one of the belts that Josh Taylor had to let go. So hopefully one of these guys can give Gary Antoine Russell a shot or something. I mean, this is one of the knockouts before the fight was stopped. Went to the body. The guy just didn't have any legs. He got stopped in the corner. Matisse, power hitter, 19 victories, all 19 by KOs. A couple fights ago, he hit a guy who ended up passing away after his fight, after he had knocked him out. And then he came back, lost the fight. Now he came back, got on the winning streak, and captured the IBF belt. I'd like to see him and maybe Gary Antoine Russell fight for that belt next.
Think it'll happen. That's your boy. You like him.
I like Gary
And who would you like? Who do you think would win?
It'd be a tough fight for Gary Antoine Russell. Sometimes his defense can be a little lacking, but I think Gary Antoine Russell would be able to capture that belt. I'd like to see it next. Time for him to get a title shot.
I like him because he goes to the body a lot, as witnessed there. I think he'd be tough for Russell.
He would.
Your thoughts?
Well, I don't like none of the Russells.
Why don't you like none of the Russells, Jim?
Well, 6 of them all named Gary Russell.
And just like George Foreman.
I mean,
George Foreman named all his kids George Foreman.
but we're not talking about them on the show as prospects. But I think in terms of the title fight, Luther said it all.
In other words,
You don't like the little guys.
all right. All right. Well, you know, the fans, we talk about the fans. We appreciate you. And one of our biggest fans, Big Puncher. Send us a mail. We're going to do our mail back at the end, but this one's a little bit more in depth. Fighters we expected big things out of, but they didn't reach their full potential. There's a couple I have in mind. Luther.
Well, you picked 2 of my biggest ones.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but also one guy, Terry Norris. I thought he was going to really do some great things after he beat Sugar Ray
He
Leonard.
overachieved.
No, he didn't overachieve. I thought he was really going to make some noise. I thought Donald Curry was another one I thought could do a little better.
He made the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, but I just think he still could have reached a higher level. I was really high on Curry.
Okay.
But those are two guys I really thought could have done some great
Cobra
things.
was special.
What'd you say?
What?
The Cobra was special.
No, I get what Luther's saying. Yeah, I mean, like he had a Hall of Fame career, but you think he could have done
he could
even?
have gone down as one of the greats.
Okay.
I really do.
The thing with Norris, he had the ability, but when he lost, of course, he was on the way down when he fought Dana Rosenblatt, and Rosenblatt dominated. The guy Vinny knocked out. So those are 2 good picks. I like that.
Yeah, I like those. Were 2 of my
What
favorites.
you think about
man.
Norris's brother, heavyweight or cruiser?
Orland.
Orland, yeah. He wasn't bad. They were both about
average.
the same. You know.
No, Terry
The
Norris.
ceiling was. There was a ceiling on
I
both of
thought
them.
Terry Norris was to go down.
Well, you
as
thought
one of the
wrong.
greats. I did.
But
I did one of the Smoking Jim.
But he's got to watch. He didn't lose it this
Yeah.
week, but that's another story.
You lost everything, Jim.
He's good.
The
Go ahead.
time, his watch.
Who did you think was going to be big time but didn't make
Well, I'll
it?
stick with the heavyweights. Cleveland Williams, one of the greatest you ever wanted to see. Just didn't have to. He could dish it out.
Well, he
but
got
couldn't
shot
take it.
too. That didn't help.
Yeah, that bullet.
Well, he got shot 3 times in the stomach by
it didn't
a police
stop Bud
officer.
Crawford. It didn't stop Bud Crawford.
They was marching in for him.
It didn't stop Bud Crawford. Bud Crawford got shot too.
Yeah, so that didn't help.
Didn't help.
But I always thought Tommy Morrison
Yeah.
really
Oh,
could have
yeah,
been
yeah.
really could have been
chin.
great.
point.
Jerry Cooney, one of my all-time favorites. I always thought I can't believe he's not in the Hall of Fame and Ken Norton's in there. And lastly, Ike Iabuchi.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
still
Yeah.
undefeated. He's still undefeated.
We don't
You
know.
predicted he would be undefeated. You were right.
We don't know how many L's he took where he's at now.
Yes.
But also David Tua was another one I thought.
David
Yeah,
Tua.
I
David
just wrote his
Tua
name
and
down.
Ike Iabuchi beat him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought David Tua would
Yeah.
have been able to do a couple other
right.
things. even Andrew Galata. I thought he would do better.
come on now.
I did.
No, Galata, wait a minute.
No, I did think he was going to do
Galata
better.
had skill. That's why I say this about baseball. Really, basketball, yes, you have to have.
What did Archie Bunker say about Galata?
What's that? You have to have physical ability, obviously.
He had
but
the physical, but mentally
you
he didn't
have to have
it.
it. Galata against Riddick Bowe, who was in his prime, he beat the hell out of him, and he looked good doing it. Short, quick punches.
And then he started going
These
Yeah.
words
low.
of
Michael
Claudio's and Luther, they don't reflect
Michael
mine
Grant.
and Doug.
He was beating Michael Grant. He was beating Michael Grant, and then he packed it in.
Michael Grant.
I'm just saying. He was doing well.
I
is
was
my
off
point.
once I saw him against Lennox Lewis. I said,
Yo,
oh,
that was
my
bad. His
gosh.
eyes were like that. My dad, what did he call him? Deer in the headlights. He was like this. David too is one. They say. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just Galata's another one, man. He had
Galata? Yeah, very good.
he had some
David
mental
Tua.
health.
What do they say in the heavies? If you have a punch and you have a chin, you can go all the way. Tua had a punch. He had a pretty good chin, but he didn't make it. Ibuchi outside of the ring. But inside the ring, man, he
He could
was
do it all.
tough.
He could have gone down as maybe the GOAT, the greatest.
I don't know about that, but
Claudio, there was nothing he could. He was fast. He was strong. He had a chin. But again, outside
some
the
bad
ring,
checks.
Rob Banks.
outside the ring, he thought he was a king. He could do whatever.
yeah.
Give me the money.
For me, the guy
Take your
had
clothes
this
off.
guy
That
had the
would just
look.
smile.
He had the look. He had the ability. Had some stamina issues due to asthma. Could sell a fight, especially towards the end of his career. Shannon Briggs.
Oh, Shannon
Shannon
Briggs.
Briggs. He had everything.
And he was
sports asthma.
What's that?
What do you have? Sports asthma.
The hell, he had asthma. I don't know if it's
Same
sports
thing
asthma.
Bettis used to get every training camp.
Shannon
Couldn't
Briggs.
breathe
Look
till
at him.
the
He had the
regular
look.
season
He
started.
could hit. He had the body.
He had them locks flying around.
Yep.
Them
From
crazy
Brooklyn.
wild punches.
Yep.
Yeah. From the Mike Tyson
Look at
area.
him. He's throwing punches like Jim, that with the chest open, Luther. Did you see that? But he was big time. He gave Lennox a hell of a run for a couple rounds.
Well, I miss those ESPN and
Me
USA.
too, yeah.
fights.
Now, he beat George Foreman, but he won against George Foreman, but George Foreman won that fight.
You think?
Oh, yeah, it wasn't close. But in my opinion, when Shannon Briggs, I said he's one of those guys that's going to be on Leno and Arsenio. He's going to come there with the belt. He's going to be big time. He's going to have endorsements because he had the total package. And for some reason, and then when he fought Klitschko, he fought Lennox, did okay, but Lennox knocked him.
He had Cleveland Williams as hard.
Well,
Yeah, he had some PED issues as well.
Yeah.
He kept getting, busted
That
the
hurt.
PEDs. So.
And the other guy who's still at it is Adrian Broner. I thought Adrian Broner was going to be
me
big
too.
time.
I disagree.
You didn't
I
think
never-
so?
I thought he was-
Physically?
No, I thought he was too much of a fake.
That's
Floyd.
mental. That's
Too
mental. I'm
much
talking
of a
about
fake
physically.
Floyd. And now
You're saying a reason why he didn't, which I'm with you. But do you think?
You know,
I think it was
Luther,
a-
once you get one loss, he
No,
throw you
no,
off.
I
the
don't.
bus.
I don't. Listen, he was a lot of hype. He came up trying to be Floyd.
He was a great amateur and a great
But I didn't
pro
see.
early
I
on.
used to see what he was putting out on social media. I was like, man,
we
this
didn't see
guy's not it. I mean, he's
We
in
use
clubs
social
doing all
media
kind
to
of
promote
wild stuff.
business.
Well, that's mental. I'm talking about physically. Well, you have to have the whole package. Like I said, he
Is
didn't
it?
have
I mean, I've seen him not throw punches. I've seen him get tired in fights. There's a whole lot of stuff that's in the ring that I don't like about him. Now he can't even get a fight. He's leaving BLK Prime. Al Heyman built up his whole name. He leaves him and starts trashing him.
Yeah.
And now he's a free agent, has nowhere to go.
Oh, he's
no
not with
fights.
that Black Prime?
No, because he just said
They left him.
He just said he's leaving BLK Prime because he can't get a fight. That's what he
Black
put out.
History Month.
He just put that on social media, but it's Adrian Broner. We don't know if it's true or not. But that $10 million check he was bragging about.
Can't trust them black guys to pay.
Hopefully he didn't spend that money.
But Luther,
before
if he
got
was
it.
getting $10 million to fight Michael Williams, I'm sure there's somebody out there he could have fought to
And
occupy
that's
that fight
and that's
space.
problem
Maybe he didn't trust the black guys to pay.
But see, that's a problem with a startup. You're always supposed to have somebody on the undercard that's around the
He
same
was.
weight.
Michael Williams was the backup.
But you got to have some. Yeah, he was the
Another
third
backup.
backup. You
that's
got to have
smart.
another
That's smart.
backup
Yeah.
so you could just move
Third?
him up.
Yeah, that's
was there
smart.
3 guys?
Yeah, remember it was Isaac
Cruz.
Redcast.
No. You're right. My
And
fault.
then it was
You're right.
Hank Lundy,
Lundy.
and then it was Michael Williams. He's the third guy to pull out.
Well, I wonder if he did leave Black Pride, I wonder who's going to take him on.
I don't know. He burned
Why would you?
He burned his bridge with
That's what I'm
PBC.
saying.
You got to get Jet Magazine to get all that.
Jim
put
will
on-
take
I
him.
know three pulled
Jim will take him. He's a trainer.
pulled out like that.
Yeah, I just named them all to you. There's three.
The other one who I think-
I'm not doubting it.
The other one who I think could have been a lot better was Muhammad Ali. I don't think, according to him, Muhammad didn't fight anybody. All right. One of our popular segments, underrated, overrated, or good where they are. We have some interesting ones. These are from the fans. We appreciate it. And the last three, I'm really glad that we got. Jack Johnson.
I think he's one of the most underrated.
Underrated, okay.
Just because, the film was grainy back then, but he was fighting under a lot of pressure. The crowd is, these players now get mad when they throw a popcorn at him. He was getting other stuff
Yeah.
thrown at him in the ring,
Yeah.
but he was a monster in there. Police were in there stopping fights. He'd leave a fight, somebody might get hung. He didn't know. He's very underrated. The things that he had to fight against, I think he's a very underrated fighter.
Let me say this for you.
And while he was in jail, he invented the wrench.
That's right.
amazing.
You beat me to the punch on that, pardon the pun. That's unbelievable, and not enough people know about that. I always tell my wife and daughter, I'm able to do all these things that I do, be it show, coaching, whatever, because they give me a clear head. Right. I don't like to have anything hanging over my head. I don't like to have issues, and we all have things we got to deal with. Jack Johnson, he had a lot of things hanging over his head. I mean, it was a bad climate, obviously.
Hanging is an understatement.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. And he still went out there and did what he did. And think about it. Everybody was against him. And and I forgot, I should know this. Who was the guy that they had him fight? It was the big setup. And was it Willard? No, Sullivan. No. You should know.
Jeffries.
Jeffries. See, he was there.
Jeffries.
Very good.
You were in the crowd.
And Jack Johnson did what he did. And the one thing, too, he helped set it up.
Right.
The one thing, too, back then, it wasn't 6 rounds, 10 rounds.
It was till you can't get up.
Until you can't get, and what was funny, not funny, but you knocked the guy down.
And
what
if
do
he
they
tried
do?
to get up,
They're
you could go
standing
get-
over you.
Yeah.
You know why I'm
knock
sitting-
you down
You know
again.
why I'm sitting close to you. Anyway, I'm just kidding. So I say he was underrated as well because, and the thing is, he was good physically, but his ability would translate to today. And he took some shots too, and he had a hell of a chin. Nobody talks about his chin. And he moved well. I think he was underrated. Do you think he could have fought today?
I think he could have. Yeah, I
Anytime.
think he could have
He's one
fought
of the few
in
guys.
any
I'm
year.
with you.
Yeah.
Smoking?
Well, extremely underrated. I think that the two guys in the history of boxing that the white population hated the most was Jack Johnson and Cassius Clay of the 60s. Cassius Clay dodged the draft, and then
Man, it sounds like you hate him.
and then Cassius Clay joined the Nation of Islam, the black Muslims, which was feared. Don't forget that, Martin Luther King believed in turning the other cheek. Black Muslims did not, and they thought all white people were devils. So Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay was hated in the 60s. He was beloved later on, but he was the most hated guy in the 60s. That's why he had to fight Jerry Quarry to get the money, because then nobody else wanted to see him fight that was going to pay money. So Jack Johnson, extremely, extremely underrated fighter.
All right. Larry Holmes, the Easton Assassin.
Listen, I think Larry Holmes is underrated as well.
Oh, okay. I
He
thought you were gonna say something
Yeah,
different
I've
about him.
changed on it because he came.
Flip-flop is the
I
word.
changed on it. You do research, Jim, something you don't do. You can change your opinion. But he came after Ali, and he came before Mike Tyson, so he's kind of stuck in the middle. But he was a true warrior, man. He had the jab going, and I think he's an underrated fighter.
Dropped out of
Basically,
school in the 7th grade.
we're not talking
And
about
he's
his
got all,
education.
he's got all his money,
I'm just
owns
saying- I'm
smart
just saying.
businessman,
I'm just saying.
owned buildings,
You did your research.
restaurants.
I'm not talking
I'm
about
helping you
I'm not talking about
Hey,
his education.
there's people with
He's
big time
underrated.
degrees who don't have his money in
Facts.
business.
Right.
Forget about boxing. Smoking?
Extremely overrated. The most jealous guy in the world. He hated Ali. He tried to kill an old man Ali because
No,
he
he
hated
kinda-
him so much.
took it
man.
easy on him,
He
too.
beat
He
the
took it
heck
easy
out
on
of
him.
him.
No.
He beat the rawhide out of Ali. But extremely overrated fighter.
I think he's underrated. He's one of the all-time greats. He cleaned out the division. Okay, well, the Spinks thing, but he won that fight, first one. I think he fought everybody who was available to him, didn't duck anybody. Then when he was older, had a nice run against Ray Mercer, who everybody on USA. Holmes is punching him, and I'm not doing the smoking Jim punch. He's punching him, and he's talking to the camera. Okay, then he even fought Butterbean, your boy Butterbean.
Was that before or after the Tyson fight? That was after the Tyson fight. Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, he took the Tyson fight.
He was old. He was old during the Tyson fight.
No, they called Larry up. Hey, we'll give you $8 million. Hell yeah, I'll fight him. Okay, but see, you always base these guys. You talk about Muhammad against perfect.
If he had an 8th grade education, he'd have turned down that Tyson fight.
But you can't. When I think of Larry Holmes, I don't think of the Tyson fight, or I think of Cooney.
You brought Mercer and all that up.
I think of Mercer, but not against Tyson. Okay, that was just a different time. But I think physically, no, I think he has this second best jab. Liston had more pop on that jab, but Buster Douglas had the greatest jab of any heavyweight I ever saw.
Stop it.
But Larry Holmes and what do I say, the two best recovery chins of all time, Tyson Fury and Larry Holmes. Ernie Shavers got a clean shot on him.
Dropped him. And he was banging him on the ropes. He still had that power to drop him.
Larry Holmes was very, and Cooney said he's one of the, and Cooney was in the ring with him, top 3 heavyweight of all time. Top 5, I think he said top 5 heavyweight.
I disagree with that.
But I tell you what, in all honesty, I think you could put Larry Holmes, whether he would win or not, I don't know, but he wouldn't look bad against any of the greatest fighters of all time. He'd be in it. He'd be in it.
Tyson.
Oh, in his day, he'd have schooled Tyson. He'd have schooled Tyson.
Tyson.
Larry Holmes was a very intelligent fighter.
Tyson would have put him out soon.
Cooney said it. He was an extremely intelligent fighter. He knew when to throw a punch, when to move. He was, I'm telling you, and now he wasn't a big knockout guy, but that cumulative punches. And the Ken Norton, I'm going to tell you, I know you're going to, and Ken Norton, that fight.
That was great. Hard.
The last round,
that's what
when they both, that's right, and it was hot and it was outside, and he took some shots, and Holmes kept coming. He kept coming. And when you have heart and you have the physical ability, man, and you have a chin like that, you can go a long way.
First championship fight when nobody was a champion because they gave Ken Norton
was for the IBF.
Well, they gave Ken Norton was the champion because they gave him a belt. Okay. He didn't earn it in the ring.
There you go, disrespecting another Hall of Famer.
I'm just saying, man.
Now, somebody Jim and I talk about. I'm going to let you go first on this one. Wilfred Benitez.
Well, he got good taste because he ended up marrying Sugar Ray's sister.
Him.
Yeah, he married Sugar Ray's sister.
I never heard. I'm not going to dispute you. You know that. I never heard that before. Sugar beat the hell out of him.
Yeah, but
listen, don't you ever? He's been right with the pitchfork.
He's been wrong quite a bit too. I'm not giving him all that credit.
One of the most underrated fighters of all time. He was world champion at 17.
Yeah,
unbelievable talent. Just came up in the era where, no matter what he did, he probably beat Sugar Ray Leonard, but he wasn't going to get the decision. And Roberto Durant was just a beast back then. But
bad timing, would you say? He came up at the wrong time?
Yeah, I think it was wrong time not to be able to speak English.
I'm talking about the opponents. You mentioned Sugar Ray, Durant. It was some big time.
There was some great fighters in, but this is a guy that has to go down as one of the all-time greats.
All-time greats.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Luth?
I think he's good where he's at.
You didn't do your homework.
I think he's good where he's at.
Didn't do your research.
He's not one of the top guys of that era.
He didn't beat them.
Yeah.
He was a champ at 17.
Okay, that's nice. But did he beat the legends?
He beat everybody.
He didn't beat the legends.
Except for
I think he's good where he's at.
Yeah. And I'm with you on that. I think he had a nice career.
Split decision, Sugar Ray beat him?
He lost. He took the L.
And he took his
And I give him credit,
home.
but he he got the other belt. But he had some nice fights. People do mention him. They do give him credit. They say physically he had it. Now, I'm not going to say he's one of the all-time greats because he didn't beat.
More fake.
He didn't beat the all-time greats. Did he beat the all-time greats?
Who did he beat to make him all-time great, Claudia? Jim, who did he beat to make him an all-time great?
Oh, my goodness.
Jim, go ahead. I'm asking you a question.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, if you say Floyd Mayweather, you can list the all-time.
Oh, he'd have killed Floyd Mayweather.
Okay, I'm not saying he wouldn't.
Who did Benitez beat to make him? So you
Claudio,
can't name one.
I never thought Claudio would disappoint me.
I think he's good. I'm not saying.
Jim, he didn't beat the legends that that would have put him there.
He beat
except for Leonard and Durant and all that. When we come back, we have more underrated overrated, or are they the same? So come on back to the Boxing Authorities. Welcome back to the Boxing Authorities. We're going to continue our underrated, overrated, or good where they are. Oscar De La Hoya.
Oscar, the golden boy, as a promoter, very overrated. But
And I'm glad you mentioned that because we do have some guys at the end.
as a
Very
promoter,
good.
very overrated. He done lost Canelo. He done made bad deals with the zone. But as a boxer, I think he was an underrated boxer. He fought everyone. You look at his resume, he had all the skills, it was debatable whether he beat Floyd or not, but he fought everyone. So I'd say he's underrated. When people talk about the greats of his era, I don't think his name comes up enough, and he was. I look at his resume. I like your skills and who's on your resume, and Oscar's up there with the best of them. I think he's underrated. As a boxer.
Smoking?
Well, I got to agree with Luther. I think he's underrated, except for I never forgave him for beating up on his old idol Chavez. He never should have
business.
fought
What was he
him.
gonna do?
It
Come on,
wasn't
Jim,
a
man.
business. He
There
was
you go.
jealous
This is boxing.
because the Mexican people did not cater to him the way
But
they
you
did
were mad when
Chavez.
Holmes fought Ali.
Pardon me?
When Holmes fought Ali.
Yeah, he never should have fought Ali.
Jim,
He
this is boxing.
But
Terry
what I'm
Norris
saying,
beat
I
Sugar
can have
Ray
my
Leonard.
opinion. This is an old man that's over the hill, and you're gonna beat up on him. You went to
Passing
all
of
his
the
fights.
torch.
You waved the
That's how you
you
pass
made
the
the
torch.
Mexican flag,
That's
and
how
then
you
you're
pass
gonna
the
beat up
torch
on
in
him.
boxing,
At least
Jim.
Rocky Marciano said he didn't want to fight.
He
Joe
fought
Louis.
him.
He fought him.
You know,
fought
he
him.
had to. He wasn't champ.
He gave
These
him a nice
guys were
payday.
champs. Holmes was champ. If
for
Rocky
Lewis.
was champ, he never would have fought Joe Louis. Do you
No,
agree?
I agree.
So,
Well, but it was a
No,
money
he would've-
fight.
he
It was a
would've
money
fought
fight.
him.
He'd have fought him. He'd have fought him.
Right.
He didn't want
Joe-
to. He cried at the end of the fight.
Yeah,
I understand.
yeah.
But it is a
But it was the
business.
passing of the torch,
Right,
Jim.
right.
That's how
But
it
how
works
come-
in boxing.
How come, what about Roman Reigns versus Austin? Okay, we got a bunch of inside jokes here. All right, Pernell Whitaker. Underrated,
Sweet
overrated.
pea.
Sweet pea.
I think he's underrated, man. The way he moved in the ring, I think he had some big decisions that went against him. Where I think he won.
Who's on his resume?
Listen,
Hey, I'm
listen,
just going while you
he
doing
was
what
completely
Benitez.
raw. He was
You
raw.
flip- is it flip-flop
He was robbed
time?
against
Flip-flop
against
time.
Chavez.
It's
No.
flip-flop time?
Chavez, he was raw. I mean, he was a showman, and you couldn't hit this guy
Yeah, I
if he
agree.
was in a phone booth.
Yes, sir.
He gets no credit. You look at
Put you in
Floyd
the
and all
minus
these
better
guys.
four.
Pardon me?
Put
He
you in the
trained him a
minus
little
better
bit.
four,
You know, he
yeah.
trained him a little bit.
I didn't know that.
Spadafor,
You know, he trained Spadafor?
Hey, that's another game. We could have put him on the list fighters we expected more from.
Oh,
we could have put
Spadafor,
Paul
yeah.
Spadafor on there. I
Yes,
expected
yes.
a lot more.
Yes, yes.
But again, he got caught up. But very underrated, Pernell Whitaker. Rest in peace. But very underrated. I still don't think he gets enough respect for the great fighter he was. And he was robbed so many times where he should have got the decision, and they went the other way.
Flip-flop.
No, he's underrated.
Extremely underrated. I tell you what, this is a guy had no power, and he got punished for it. You couldn't hit him. He had all the combinations.
Stick and
He's the
move.
only guy. What weight class? Buck 40.
Yeah, I was going to
Yeah, but
say.
He was a buck
30,
40,
40.
and I tell you what, he wouldn't have been afraid to fight heavyweights. He had
He
heart.
fought everybody.
Yeah.
He had courage. He had gold teeth. He had everything but punching
You and the
power.
teeth, Jim.
And I've never seen him lose a fight in the ring. I've seen him not get decisions, but I've never seen him lose a fight in the
Right.
ring. He was unbelievable.
So what are you talking about? Who'd he beat? He beat a
No,
lot
I'm
of
just
people.
going by what you said about Benitez. You flip flop when you like somebody.
But he actually lost those fights. Pernell was raw. There's a big
When you
difference.
went to college, your dad made you take out that gold tooth, and you never.
I think he's good where he is. You can still hear his name a lot. You hear his name a lot when fighters talk about a good defensive fighter. With Floyd Mayweather, they would say, mind you, of his defensive manager Pernell. They still mention Pernell Whitaker a lot. He's the guy when they talk about power in baseball. They'll talk about Bonds, Babe Ruth. When they talk about defense and being slick in boxing, they still mention Pernell Whitaker. And he is in the Hall of Fame, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, he's an Hall
Okay.
of Fame.
Yeah, I think he's good. I mean, he.
Is he buried in Virginia? Is that where he's
Oh,
at?
Jim, come
No,
on.
I'm just asking. I'm just asking.
I don't know about that, brother. All right. Anyway, Vlad Klitschko.
The Klitschko's to me, I think they're good with her at. I was starting to say overrated. They feasted on a very weak heavyweight division for 10 years. They fought nobody of note. The one time they did fight a legend, Lennox Lewis won. I think they're both good where they're at. I kind of think they might be overrated. I wasn't really impressed with those guys because the division was so weak back then. It was so weak that Floyd Mayweather became the face of boxing.
Yeah.
Probably for the first time ever, a guy that small became the face because heavyweight was dead, and it's just now coming back with the likes of Furies.
Oh, please
Wilder.
don't start. Because he's
Just
going to
now-
say this is the
just
greatest
now
heavyweight
coming
division
back.
of all time. Don't
Just
start.
now
He's going
coming
to pull out
back.
the notebook. You know what? Since Luther mentioned connected both of them, Vlad and Vitaly. Overrated, underrated, good where they are.
Both of them were extremely underrated.
Oh,
What did I say about Wilfred Benitez? He came at the wrong time. Klitschko's came at the right time. I'm not saying they wouldn't have done well because when you got a punch, especially Vitaly, I thought Vlad could have been better offensively because I think sometimes he would hold back. And I would say this. Remember years ago, well, here in Pittsburgh, Steve Blass, and this is just my opinion. Steve Blass just went wild. He couldn't throw a strike. And there was another guy, Chuck Knobloch, or no, forget about that. Mackie Sasser, he was a catcher for the Mets, a little bit for the Pirates. He couldn't throw, again, this is my opinion, he couldn't throw the ball back to the pitcher. It was just, sometimes I'm watching TV, throw the right, Vlad, throw the right. Now, when he did, you felt it. Okay, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was training where they just wanted to use the jab more after the Saunders fight, after the Corey Sanders fight. Right. Maybe that wasn't the right game plan. So maybe I'm mistaking with the Mackie Sasser connection.
You said it wasn't the right game. I mean, they dominated for years. It wasn't exciting.
Yeah, but then he started losing towards the end. Go in there and you're not a boxer puncher. You're a slugger. Go in and get the hell out. Now Vitaly was a little bit. He gave Lennox a run until he got that bad cut.
Lennox beat him down, man.
He cut him. Yeah. So I'm going to say that. I'm going to say they're good where they are. And again, maybe my analogy doesn't fit. Maybe it was a game plan from Emmanuel or from whoever. Throw that right. You can knock a wall down, okay? And again, the competition wasn't as good. Now, this is what I was very glad we got these things. And you mentioned Oscar as a promoter. Don King, underrated, overrated, good where he is.
You know what? He's so underrated. I'm not talking about all the money that fighters said was robbed, but Don King was a very, very underrated promoter. We got all the big fights. If he was promoting now, we would have had Wilder, AJ at least twice. We would have had Errol Spence versus Bud Crawford trilogy.
Good point.
All these fights that we want to happen would have happened. Very underrated.
We're not talking about the business end of it. We're talking about did he make the fights
those
happen?
guys
Yes
might
or
not
no?
have gotten all the money they wanted, but the fans would have gotten every fight we wanted to see at least 3 or 4 times.
Good point.
We miss him. Boxing is suffering because they've kicked him out of the sport. He's been isolated, but we're suffering now. Very underrated.
Smoking?
Well, again, Luther goes overrated a little bit, exaggerated.
I said underrated.
First of all, we had one of the greatest to ever do it, to say that Don King wouldn't allow him to fight his fighters. Jerry Cooney said he could have been much better, but Don King held back his stable and wouldn't give Jerry Cooney that experience.
Good point.
Listen,
He gave him those big fights.
The most underrated promoter ever. He's the greatest promoter since Barnum and Bailey. The things that Don King did, the way he talks, I still listen to. I'll go back and listen to old Don King tapes today. Don King was the most underrated promoter of all time, but I disagree with you, Luther. Today, if he was a promoter today, we still wouldn't have got those fights
yes, we
because we
would've.
didn't get them then.
We did.
Oh, you did. Just the
We
one.
didn't get them then.
What big fights did he gave us all the big fights?
He wouldn't put his stable in with Jerry Cooney.
Cooney got some big fights. I disagree.
We heard it from the horse's mouth.
Yeah,
And you want to get Don King on here?
Hey,
Get it?
Hey, let's get Don King on here. We wouldn't get a word in, but it would be Don King. We might get one word. Yeah, let's get Don on here.
I think he's good where he is. People still consider him the greatest promoter of all time, and he still gets a lot of credit, a lot of respect, Hall of Fame. He's instantly recognized. I think he's good reason. I'm not going to say he's underrated because people still say, is he going to reach the Don King level? Is he as good as Don King? So when you're the guy, when you're the guy that people compare you to, I think you're good. Okay, Bob Arum.
See, my opinion has changed on him. Before I would have been, he was good where he's at. I think he's, long in the tooth now. He's not doing any promoting. Now you hear him saying, Bud Crawford doesn't promote himself. We're not getting the big fights.
Isn't that your job?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But now, he's holding fights up. He's holding up the Beterbiev Bivol fight. So back in the day, I would have said he's good where he's at, but I think he's stayed too long. I think he's a little overrated at this point.
Okay.
Because he's not giving us the big fights over the last 10 years.
I was going to say 10 years.
But he's been the main promoter over the last 10 years, and we haven't gotten it. So I think he stayed too long, and we're not getting these big fights, and he's a big part of it.
Smoking?
I think we're seeing the pattern, the Klitschko brothers and Bob Arum, white folks overrated in Luther's book. I think Bob Arum is underrated. One of the all-time great promoters, still doing it at 90 years old. Underrated.
He needs to let it go. Move that on, man. Enjoy his great-grandkids.
He need a good suntan, huh?
I think he's good where he's at. He's another guy who they mention all the time.
He needs to stop promoting. He's not giving us the fights, Claudio.
ESPN. I know he's not giving us the big fights, but he's still the dog with ESPN. So you got to give him credit for that. I'm saying he's good. I'm talking about the whole picture. Luther's talking about the end of his career. I'm talking about the whole picture. I'm good with him where he's at.
And I did qualify. I said I think he was good where he's at, but the last 10, very, very overrated.
Interested to hear this. Eddie Hearn.
Eddie Germ is what I call him. I think he's terrible as a promoter. He stopped us from getting Anthony Joshua and Wilder years ago. We could have had Undisputed back in 2017, 2018. You look at some of the fighters he's lost. He lost Canelo for a fight that overpaid him to bring him back. Devin Haney was there, he left. Boo Boo Andrade, gone. I think he's very overrated. He's a main reason that DAZN lost $6 billion. He came over here talking he was going to take over America. He just went about it wrong. I think he's very overrated. And, he's not giving us the big fights. DAZN is paying for it as well.
Smoking?
I'm going to have to apologize to our fans. I'm going to have to bag off on this because I don't know that much about Eddie Hearn.
Okay. That's an honest man. That's an honest man. And he gives you a smile at the end of it.
That's a cop-out, Jim.
I'm going to say overrated.
Very overrated. Thank you.
He's up there.
You just didn't want to say it.
They're talking about him all the time.
You don't get a check from Eddie Hearn, Jim.
I'm going to say overrated. All right. One of our another series, Tyson Fury versus the all-time greats. We have him against Muhammad, Rocky Evander, Lennox, and Mike Tyson. Luther and I, no disrespect to Mike Tyson Fury, we have those guys beating Tyson Fury, whereas I think you pretty much have Tyson Fury beating all of them.
Yes. Wrong again.
Tyson Fury against one of my all-time favorites, Ken Norton. Luth.
Finally, Tyson Fury gets the victory over Ken Norton. Ken Norton, tough Hall of Famer, deserves the beater, unlike Smoker Jim says. But, tough competitor. But I think Tyson Fury's too big. We saw what Cooney did to Ken Norton. I think he'd get him on the ropes and punish him, hit him in the back of the head, hit him low, hold him.
Is that Bobby?
I think he would take him out. I got Tyson Fury stopping Ken Norton.
Oh, man, Bobby could take a hit.
He could take a hit. I mean, that's a wine. I mean, that's all body.
Oh.
Wow.
He goes.
You got to give Bobby some credit.
Fights like this, if you want somebody not to fight, show him fights like that.
He was 46-0 at that time.
Wow.
That's right. It was the first
round.
round.
Take it all. Look at that, man. I'm glad the referee stopped.
That's
good refereeing. But, yeah, I got big Tyson Fury stopping him.
Luke, Smoking Jim?
Well, everybody knows I love my man Dingo. Who joined, he didn't pick up boxing until he joined the Marine Corps, and he took up boxing so he could get out of going to Vietnam.
Jim,
and he ended up being a 3-time Marine boxing champion, and the closest thing he ever got to Vietnam was North Carolina when he was peeling potatoes a block away from the Asian buffet. Now, I think this would have been a very close fight. Tyson Fury was a guy that couldn't punch hard, except for the guy that he knocked out twice that was a quitter, 6'7" quitter.
He didn't quit.
Jim.
He didn't quit.
Jim, no, we're not going to let you do that. Nobody
Tyson
quit.
Fury reminds me of
He
a
just took out
combination
Dillian White
of
and Chisora.
Muhammad Ali, Jerry Quarry, and Larry Holmes.
Come on.
And don't forget, Norton fought well against Larry Holmes.
Tyson Fury used to have hair.
He fought good against Muhammad Ali, and he beat Jerry Quarry. So I think it would have been a close fight. I don't think that Tyson Fury would have had the power to knock him out. It would have been a close decision, but Tyson Fury gets the decision. I think of all the fighters, Ken Norton skill set with the Archie Moore style and his stamina, I think that Tyson Fury, he'd have went the distance, and I think it would have been a trilogy. I think Tyson Fury gets all three, but very, very close. It came down, if it was a 12-round fight, he'd have beat Larry Holmes. In 15 rounds, Larry Holmes got him in the 15th round.
As I always use the quote from baseball, Clint Hurdle, you are who your baseball card says you are. If I say to you right now, which fights come to mind right away when you think Ken Norton? For me, obviously the Holmes fight. Mm-hmm. But the two that he got blown out of the water were against two big guys who could hit. Mm-hmm. George Foreman. I mean, and it was a bad fight. I mean, he got stuck. And then, of course, they're 4 punches away from death with Jerry Cooney.
On the ropes.
Right.
That referee should have,
Now, I'm with Luther when he said, finally. I do think, and I love Ken Norton, but I think Tyson Fury gets him because Ken, when you backed him up, if Fury would back him up, he's a big, wide man who can hit. He's not one of the biggest punchers, but he can hit. And I think he catches Norton. All due respect to him, I think within 3 rounds. Look what he did against Foreman. Now, not that Tyson Fury can hit as much as Foreman.
No, he can't.
No, or Cooney.
No, he can't.
No, he can't. But Norton had a hard
or
time
about
against
700 other heavyweights I can name.
But you
on,
always
Jim.
say he's the
You
best
said
of all
yeah,
time.
he's the greatest, but he don't have a punch. He got a Muhammad Ali punch.
No.
Very little.
No, and I don't like the comparison with him and Ali. That's I don't
you
like
need
that.
to stop
but,
that, Jim.
But I think he beats Ken Norton
I agree.
within 3 rounds. You know what something bothered me by Ken Norton? When they said that he turned down, this is what I remember hearing, he turned down the Apollo Creed part because he was going to the damn Superstars event. Why would you turn that down? Apollo Creed was better. Carl Weathers was the best.
We don't know.
What the deal was?
Who knew Rocky would be as big as it was?
Yeah, but the Superstars event. Remember Joe Frazier almost drowned?
Yeah.
That thing. Do
What
you
year-
remember that? In the 70s.
What year
The 70s.
did they pronounce Ken Norton dead in that car accident, but he came back? Remember? I mean, he had brain. They said he never
Jim,
walk
did
again.
you make
No,
that
I'm
up
just
again,
saying
Jim?
he was in a bad car
I remember
accident.
he was in a bad
They
car
said he
accident.
would never walk, live, and
But you
do
said
and talk.
you said it was
and-
reported that he died.
Yeah,
Come on,
they
Jim.
reported that he died.
There's
I
a
don't
big
remember that.
difference, Jim.
But with
More fake news.
But
More
would help
Smokepedia.
More fake news from Jim.
He's
But
hitting about.
would help Ken Norton. Don't forget, in his career, Ken Norton read a book by Napoleon Hill called "Think and Grow Rich," and he also got hypnotized.
It's true.
And if you see any interviews with Ken Norton, he never criticizes his opponent or anybody because
He criticized Cooney.
positive thinking.
He criticized Cooney.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he
I know he
criticized
didn't
Cooney.
like Cooney.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like him either if he almost killed me like
Well, that was
on
before the
ring.
fight. Yeah.
But I think that you guys are wrong because, number one, Tyson Fury only has a big punch against 167 quitter.
Jim, no, you're not going to say that. That's not
he's
true.
not a big puncher.
Listen, since he's got with Sugar Hill, somehow he's had 4 straight knockouts.
Yes,
Wilder
sir.
twice, Dillian White, and Derek Chisora.
And he had Dillian
4
White with
stoppages.
everything for Dillian went.
No, he hit him with
Yeah,
one punch.
he
He
hit
hit
him
him with
with
an
every-
uppercut.
Yeah,
Stop. It
fatigue.
was one uppercut.
Yeah, but was
Stop,
it,
Jim. It was one uppercut.
What round,
it was
what
a
round
one
with
punch.
Foreman had knocked out Dillian White? Ernie Shavers
Wait,
had
we're not-
knocked out
Jim,
Dillian
Wait,
White.
who talks more about Fury and says
You.
AJ?
I said he was the best. I didn't say he was the hardest puncher. That's a
You're
difference.
saying somebody quit.
That's like
He had-
saying Babe Ruth is the best, but he wasn't the best stealer. He couldn't steal bases,
Since he's been with Sugar Hill, he's had 4 straight devastating knockouts.
and he still can't hit. He's not a
Well, in
devastating.
your opinion.
In
well,
my
ask
opinion,
the guys who got knocked out.
Yeah, he
He
should
can
get
hit.
Well,
He's a big
I
guy
know
who can
167
fight.
quitter.
You know-
I know 167
Jim,
quitter.
you're
that
not
he
gonna
knocked
say
out.
that
He didn't
again.
quit. He didn't quit.
If anything, he showed more heart than any heavyweight in the last few years.
Exactly. No,
Man had loaded gloves and everything. And sat in there.
I think Ken Norton and Fury
Nah,
went
Jim,
down.
come on,
the
man.
trilogy. That could have been
a
the
trilogy.
That could have
Trash.
Loof.
Throw that trash away, Jim.
And he mentioned Napoleon Hill. That's the second time he met. You had that in mind today, Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, we know you
You
didn't
haven't read my
that
damn
book.
book yet, though. You're in it. Are you in Napoleon
Jim
Hill's
didn't read
book?
that
I gotta
book.
buy another
Are you in
book.
Napoleon
I can't
Hill's
find
book?
your book.
I haven't signed it to you.
I wanted to read it.
Which you can get my book on my website, ClaudiaRelsano.com. All right, the Boxing Authority news. PBC reportedly cuts ties with Andy Ruiz. Luther, you mentioned he's not fighting this guy. Not fighting. Talk about Herkovic. Ruiz.
I don't know what it is.
Wilder.
You know,
What are you going to do?
Andy Ruiz, you never know what he's going to do. He wins the heavyweight championship. Then he comes to fight Anthony Joshua in a rematch. He comes in almost 400 pounds. You know, who knows what you're going to get. He fights Luis Ortiz, looks good, and now he hasn't fought. You know, he was right in line for a big fight against Wilder. Now the IBF said he's a mandatory for Herkovic.
Fight somebody.
He didn't take any of those fights. Cuts ties with PBC.
No, they cut ties with him.
Well, I think it was a mutual. They
Oh, I didn't
both
know that,
agreed.
okay.
You know, he didn't want them. They didn't want him. Is he going to Golden Boy? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Is he even going to fight anymore?
Well, you better fight
I
somebody.
mean, time is ticking. You know, I don't think he wanted that Wilder smoke. That's for sure.
I agree. Smoking?
Well-
You seem to think Wilder, Ruiz, you think Ruiz would beat him.
Well, Ruiz beat him half to death,
Oh,
but Wilder
Jim.
don't want to fight. Wilder knows it, and Wilder's being smart by not taking that beating and waiting on a big payday.
When's the
with
last
Fury.
time Ruiz beat somebody half to death? When?
Areola, Ortiz.
He just fought Ortiz
Well, he got a
12
big
rounds.
6-7 quitter that he's getting ready
Oh,
to beat
Jim,
half
no,
to
no,
death.
stop, Jim.
I said last night to you guys, Wilder now the only way to beat Wilder is if you knock him out, or if you can stay away from him and box a move.
You've been
Ruiz
wrong
isn't going to
before.
knock.
You've been wrong
Yes, I
before.
have. Yes,
You've
I
been
have.
wrong most.
But
More than
when-
anybody on this panel, Jim.
When do you think Ruiz moves enough?
No.
No. Does he have a big enough punch?
No, he's a sitting duck. He's all wrong for Wilder.
I'm glad you can't play boxing because you guys are talking about games you play. You don't play boxes,
And you
can't-
don't stand
you
in
can't
front of
set
Wilder.
the table.
Styles
What they say in baseball, the guys do the before the game they come up with that. Whatever. What's the new thing they come up with? The
the shift?
No, the new thing everybody writes down on paper and has.
analytics.
Analytics. You guys are trying to be
He's
analytics.
starting to worry me a
You're
little
trying
bit.
to do the
Come on, man,
analytics.
we're
You
analytics.
can't be analytics with Ruiz, baby.
Man, Ruiz,
Fast
we
hands.
just saw Areola knock him down.
Yeah, we
Luis
also see
Ortiz.
your
Who's the
King
big?
Kong.
Who's the big hitter? Who's the big hitter? Areola or Wilder?
Wilder.
Please.
Well,
Come on.
Jared-
King Kong hit harder than both of them. He beat him.
What are you talking about, Jim?
What's his name?
Yeah,
Luis Ortiz?
Yeah, he
He's
hit harder
60
than
years
everybody.
old,
Oh,
man.
now he's 60.
He's 60.
He's
He
Don't call him his
Uncle-
uncle anymore.
Yeah,
Don't call him
Uncle
his uncle.
Ortiz is
Luther will throw
60.
you off the bandwagon.
He's
Everybody
older
was
now,
scared
man.
of him until Ruiz
Uncle
whooped his
Ortiz
ass.
is 60
Jared
years
Big
old,
Baby
man.
Anderson fighting George Arias
Next
on the
champ.
undercard against with Shakur Stevenson. Quickly, your thoughts on that
Oh,
fight?
Jared Big Baby Anderson, the next American heavyweight. I
saying
think
it.
he's great. And he's going to stop George Arias. I haven't done a lot of research on him, but I think he stops him in 5 rounds. I like what I see.
Yeah,
You know,
I like
as
everything
long as he
about
doesn't
it.
play around in the softball
Right,
stands
exactly. He
too
beat
much,
me
he,
too much.
stops him easily. He's the next champ, Jim.
I think his next fight will be John Ryder. Your thoughts quickly on Jared Big Baby Anderson? I think he's big time.
Well, the Mama's boy stayed
Oh,
away in
here you
amateurs
go.
from Richard Torres.
But he fights
And
he's a
and
much
he's-
better fighter
and
than
he's
Torres.
running away from Richard Torres
What are
now.
Torres is still
I
fighting
like he
cab
throws a
drivers.
punch, moves, blocks. I like everything about Anderson. He's nowhere near being what he's going to be. John Boots Ennis will be fighting
the
on the
future.
undercard of the Tank Davis Ryan Garcia
Garcia.
fight for April 22nd in
Man,
Vegas.
the
Still
future,
no place.
undisputed. The future undisputed at 147 and 154. He has it all: power, skills, movement, chin. I've liked him ever since we saw him as an amateur. The future.
And Luther, I got one question.
Yes, sir.
What is the Ebonics phase for No Mars? Because
Oh,
Tank Davis
stop.
will be using that. I'll
Stop.
guarantee you.
I don't even
I'm taking
know.
all
I'm still
bets.
not sure Ryan
I'm
Garcia is
taking
going to walk into
all
the
bets.
race.
All right, when we come back, our popular segment, Boxing Mailbags. Come on back to the Boxing Authorities. Welcome back to the Boxing Authorities, our popular segment, Boxing Mailbag. Continue to send your great questions and comments to boxingmailbag@yahoo.com. Rick from Roanoke, Virginia. Tony Atlas. Remember Tony Atlas?
Yeah.
That's where he's from. You guys talk about, Claudio, you mentioned, this is for all three, but Claudio, you mentioned David Tua often. Why didn't he win a belt, and do you think he would win one today? Luther.
Well, today I think he could win one. There's multiple belts, multiple opportunities, multiple divisions he'd be eligible for. So I think he would win a belt. I think he came up in a tough era and just had some, Lennox Lewis, Ike Ibiabuchi, fought some tough guys.
Did you say quickly? Or?
No, he, on my end, Luther said exactly. Bad timing. He could hit, he could take a punch, but it was the wrong time. I think today he'd have a belt.
Just like Ryan Garcia.
Put the ones away, man.
Just like Ryan Garcia.
Oh, look how quick.
Put the ones away.
Tua will win a belt today. Just like Ryan Garcia, I guarantee will beat Tank Davis.
Put heavy money on Tank then.
Now, would he beat a Tyson Fury that size of a guy? Or a Wilder? That's what I don't think. I think he could beat an Usyk.
I think he'd be a smaller guy. He
knocked
on
Wilder.
those guys.
He knocked Wilder all the way in the
stop.
middle
Right, Jim.
in Saudi Arabia.
Stop.
If he was smart, hit him to the body.
He couldn't beat Tyson Fury.
If he hit Wilder to the body, you might be right.
No,
because
there's no
he's
way.
short,
There's
and he
no
wouldn't go head hunting.
There's no way David Tua was beating Wilder. Come on, man.
We seen Wilder get
We
knocked
saw
out before.
we saw
Right.
what a big guy did to Tua and Ike Ibiabuchi.
Well, we seen Wilder get knocked out before.
By one guy. By one guy.
As always, we hope you enjoy
And
our
you
show
see
as much
loaded
as
gloves.
we enjoy bringing it to you. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Boxing Authorities.